Check, check. Oh, it looks like it's working. Okay, well, we know what not to talk about. I will give Anna Bees a moment to find me. That is just so wild. But yeah. All right. Lesson learned. Just kidding. I'll still talk about what I talk about. If I get muted, then I get muted. But yeah. It's fascinating, isn't it? So I'll just guzzle some coffee while I wait and see if people find my new stream. That was a short one, short lived, but not surprising. I guess they don't want me talking about gardening, right? No more talking about gardening. Okay, everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something, be educational. All my videos are made for YouTube. It's an entertainment platform. Just checking my jewelry to see how much of it I made. I made most of it. I think the only thing I didn't make is this top one. Anyway, what was I saying about all my videos are made for YouTube and it's an infotainment platform. So I said that. And please make sure that you are still subscribed. If you are subscribed, if you're not, consider doing so because it is a wonderful favor to do for a content creator. If you like their material, it'll help the channel remain strong, especially when there's shadow banning going on, which I don't know. I don't know if I just have a lot of technical difficulty or if I'm shadow banned or both. And the bees, woohoo, you found it. Funny, huh? I guess they don't want me talking about gardening, right? So, share a video of mine with somebody that you think might like my channel. Turn on your notification bell to ring. And last but certainly not least, please hit that like button. That also helps the channel a lot and it's free and it just takes a millisecond of your time. Yeah, isn't it weird? I find it fascinating. Mrs. Amir, hello, hello. My two steady viewers. The moment you mentioned. So, yeah, that's funny because other people are going to have that name too. It was probably when I said bad lighting and when I was saying that she looked older. That's probably what did it. So, yeah. Oh, man. Let me look at my notes and just, I wanted to read to you today something that I found on the interwebs that I thought was fascinating because as you might know, I have not been always so like politically inclined. In fact, I have often been have had a really strong aversion to politics, like super strong. Like it's just a big hassle. It's a waste of time. It's a conundrum. And, I just want to live my life. And then I started running for politics. I started running for township trustee here in Ohio. All the counties are broken up into townships and the township trustees manage like the rescue squad and the local cemeteries and stuff like that. So I got interested in getting involved with community service like that, being a public servant. My husband's a public servant and I'm in the mental health profession. So it just seemed like an interesting thing. Anyways, that was probably like 10 years ago or more. It was about 10 years ago, I think, the first time I ran. And I became interested in politics. So I was kind of slow to warm up to it. And then, anyway, it's been a slow build. But my point is that with our El Presidente's first impeachment, I didn't realize so much what was going on with that. And maybe you guys did, how that completely involves Zelensky. And now I remember hearing about it, but it just didn't capture my attention because I wasn't that interested. But so there's an interesting relationship there with the president of Ukraine and our president. And basically, to sum it up in a nutshell, ours had asked him to spread some information about his opponent. Was it in the 2016 election cycle? I think it was about Hillary. And so he asked Volodymyr, I think is how you say his name, his first name. And he asked him to do him this big favor. Maybe one of his sons asked him to do their daddy this big favor, and he declined. And so he's probably been punished for that a great deal, which is probably a lot of why he tries to appease Donnie. But man, the relationship is just very tragic in my opinion. So, let's see. Love you ladies. I will catch up tomorrow. It's 10:15 p.m. now. Got to go to sleep. Love and light. Yes. And I haven't gotten your bracelet packaged up yet, but I plan to in the very near future, Mrs. Amir. Sweet dreams, and thanks for stopping in and saying hi. I have a friend who goes to South Africa a couple of times a year. So if it's too expensive to ship it, maybe I'll ask her to take it with her and send it local. Because I don't know if they're going to try to charge me like $50 to send a little bracelet. It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, it's like $10 just to send it one state away or even in the state. So we'll see. I mean, if it's too much, then I'll seriously wait until she visits or something like that, if that's all right with you. But I did want to send it to you right away. So the first impeachment, I was going to read to you about that. And I also wanted to say, something that I don't know that a lot of people in the true crime community or the political comedy community mention too often, that we always need to keep in mind that war is good for the economy. And I think that that's what's going on here with this whole like World War III crap. I mean, ugh, it's a nightmare. It really is. And so far our country's been pretty safe and we've been able to stay out of it, but who knows? I mean, the turbulence is bad. It's really bad. So let me run down the rest of my notes with what I wanted to talk about. Like yesterday, the Trumpster fire was in Warren, Michigan to, celebrate his 100 days of failure. And I did not know until one of the last things I watched before I came on live just now that he played a heinous movie at that presentation. And one of the things that really drives me nuts with him and his Caroline with a K is like they're really into props. So like they love to hold pieces of paper and go see the piece of paper. It's on a piece of paper, so therefore it's true. And it's something super stupid, like a photograph of somebody, like the knuckles on that guy that he thought was, or that he claimed he thought was gang related. And that whole thing with the letters that they put on the photograph, like they photoshopped the letters that they thought each thing stood for, the M and then the S and then the 1 and then the 3, right? And douchebag swears up and down that he thought that was part of the tattoo, that it had both the symbols and then the letters right above it, which I don't even believe him. Sure, it's possible. He is an old dinosaur and his brain is deteriorated and it wasn't that sharp to begin with. However, Terry Moran, I think, was the man who was interviewing him in the Oval Office, who just wanted to like skip over it and just like move on to the next thing because he had like bigger fish to fry with him. And Donnie wouldn't let him. He was just hell bent on claiming that he thought it was true, and he did like the cray. It reminded me of when he was in the debates with Kamala, and he said, "They're in Springfield. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats." Like he got really belligerent and a lot like how like a cantankerous old man gets when he's, I don't know, drunk. Hey, Fritfield, what's up? So you missed the last stream, which got muted because I was talking about Donnie's woman and how old she looked at the funeral in Italy this last weekend. Did you see photographs of her? Don't knock us dinosaurs. No, 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 I don't knock us dinosaurs. If you were world leader, Fred, and you were swearing up and down that you thought that the Photoshop was real, I would say, Fred, maybe you should take a break from being a world leader. What do you think? But I do appreciate your standing up for yourself and anyone else. Absolutely. I mean, I'm getting up there too, you know, it happens to the best of us, right? And hopefully we all get better with age and wiser and don't do the crazy, stupid crap that really is dangerous. I mean, anyway, so the whole thing with like the props. So at his entertainment or his speech or his rally, I guess we'll call it a rally, his performance last night, he played this movie, Fred. Did you see it? It was disgusting. It was like a Hollywood movie. It had like music and a tempo, and it was like all the soldiers running around with all of the people that they took to El Salvador. And it was video of them doing the head shaving and pushing them so that they could only walk and run with their heads down when after they were shaved. It was super disgusting. It was despicable and it was all dark. Like they just tried to make it as spooky and creepy and probably Hitler like as much as they could. I think I'm wiser with age. I am definitely wiser with age. Absolutely. And I think I'm better with age too, just because hopefully I'm less annoying. I don't know. I'm sure my kids might disagree, but who cares, right? That's one thing you get better at as you get older is just like not sweating it. Like you can only do so much. I didn't see that. That's so awful. I will put a link in the description, Annabees. Off the top of my head, I can't remember which video it was, but if I am looking at my history from today, I can probably tell you exactly what video it was. It was really sick. It was super sick. Well, Elizabeth Warren did an amazing job reading 100 impeachable crimes that he's committed in his first 100 days. And let's see. I think it was this 9-minute Legal AF. I'm pretty sure it was this. So the channel's called Legal AF, and the thumbnail says nobody showed up, but the title of the video is Trumpster Fire Implodes During Disaster 100-Day Rally in Michigan. And I'd play it for you, but my device is so poor. If only I knew how to do that thing. Maybe I should invest in something like StreamYard and see if I can do that thing where I can do a split screen so I can like play a video with good pixelation and everything. Anyway, that's where you'll find the video is on the Legal AF channel, and it's one of the newer ones. And I do highly recommend it. And like I said, I'll put a link in the description. It's a good channel. I like Legal AF. There's so many good channels, and it's such a delight that there are so many. I think a lot of them are new in this past election cycle because they felt like there was a really strong need to have their voices heard. And I am in full agreement with them. I'm just jealous how quickly their channels grew to like 1 million subscribers or 500,000 subscribers. And here I am stuck at 4,000 for the last 2 years. But that's okay. I'm very, very happy with every viewer that I have. So, one thing I wonder though with my shadow banning, which started right in the beginning, I I don't like to give it too much credence because I don't know. I don't know if it's the shadow banning or if it's something else. But I wonder if I'm sure that they've canceled a lot of subscribers because we all know that that happens. But I wonder if they don't count all the views that you have either, because that's another way that they can punish you. I mean, of course, they don't push your videos, but let's say you have 1,000 people watching a video, because I used to get that all the time a couple of years ago. I mean, seriously. And now I'm like lucky to hit 100, and I'm grateful for, like I said, every single view. But I do want to be heard. I do feel like I have a message that's important. So let me get to that point. But I wonder if they're just under tallying the views. It's quite possible. I haven't said that out loud because, again, I just like to not worry about it and just not sweat it. It is what it is, right? Um, right. We can only try to guide people to make better choices. I think it started because of the Kylie Rodney case. Right. Well, that's where I started my channel. And yeah, it was actually Mark, Mark who passed away. I'm trying to remember his last name. Mark Meeker. He was so sweet. The guy, he had like a Grateful Dead head, Axomaxa, with the lightning bolt through the skull icon. And he was very active in the Kylie Rodney chats. And he was the first one to say, you're being shadow banned. And I'd never even heard the term. I was so new to this whole thing. I was like, what does that even mean? And he was like, you're speaking the truth and too many people are watching your stuff, so they're shadow banning you. So yeah, I take it as a compliment, so I just try not to worry about it. I try just to do my thing. And I know that a lot of the things that I talk about, other people pick up the ideas that I have, and maybe they've picked them up on their own. Maybe they've picked them up from my channel. I try not to sweat it. I'm just happy for the ideas to get out there. Yes, Mark, he was so sweet. I know, it was so sad when he passed away. That was harsh. He had some sort of terminal illness. He didn't share what it was. So he knew he wasn't going to last long. So he was really good about just speaking the truth on YouTube, because he didn't care like if they came after him. And I think they did go after him. And then people are like, oh, well, he passed away and he might have had a target on him. So, but yeah, I mean, he had a terminal illness. So let's get back on this. So the thing about that video that is on that Legal AF channel that I was just telling you about, that I'll put a link in the description, one of the things I want to say about that whole thing is just how sadistic these people are. And then when it was over, they had like the big round of applause, which I don't think that was authentic and genuine. I think that was manufactured. I mean, it could be a bunch of sadistic freaks cheering because, go MAGA, right? But you do know that the fisherman that was involved in the Micah Miller case passed away in a car accident about a month or two ago, right? Annabees. We talked about that on the lives a little bit, but I just wanted to bring it up again because just like Virginia Giuffre passing away on Friday, I think it's important to look at these things and to ask questions. Absolutely. Um, so, yesterday I was like stringing together all the things that happened in 2022. So, the things that I was stringing together, will start with Jean-Luc Brunel passing away in his jail cell in France on February 19th, 2022. And for anyone who doesn't know who he is, he worked closely with Epstein. So he was Epsteined in France. And his speciality was recruiting the young hot French models. Jean-Luc Brunel, February 19th, 2022. And then we know that Ghislaine was sentenced on June 28th, 2022. And then about 2 weeks and a couple of days later, the day before the 3 depositions were scheduled to start for the Trumpster Fire family, the ex-wife fell down a flight of stairs and passed away on July 14th, 2022, which was just 3 weeks before Kylie Rodney goes missing on August 6th, 2022. And then that was roughly 3 months before Trinity Backus then goes missing. And I did put the post up again with the photograph of the twin law enforcement, Trinity Backus's stepdad and her uncle. So the California State Highway Patrol trooper is her uncle. I think his first name is Matthew Stanio. And then Christopher Stanio, her dad, who was and probably still is a Nevada County sheriff's deputy. So her mother had just moved back in with Christopher Stanio. They were divorced. I think he had married somebody else and then divorced the other woman, and then had Trinity's mom move back in right before Trinity went missing. But Christopher Stanio, the Nevada County Sheriff's deputy, was definitely boots on the ground in the Kylie Rodney case. And I don't know about his brother, but his brother works for the department that dragged their feet for 2 years getting the motor vehicle accident report out. It took him 24 months to get that out. So then his own stepdaughter goes missing right after her mother moves back in with him. And I'm thinking that she lived with her mother and that she probably moved back in with him too. And that she was living at his house, like the deputy, Stanio. So none of that was ever mentioned publicly, which, again, I find that super suspicious when they don't just put that information right out front. Otherwise it looks like they have something to hide. But then again, for the stepdad and the uncle, they probably shouldn't have been working on Trinity Backus's case because conflict of interest, but they probably did work on her case. I don't know. But that was the beginning of November. I think she went missing November 7th of 2022 and then was found, I think, November 9th of 2022, if I'm getting the days right. Pretty sure that's accurate. And then just a handful of days later, Idaho 4 happened on 11/13/2022. But I also want to add in there that with that election cycle that happened November 7th in Moscow, Idaho, that the police chief's wife was elected to be the clerk of the courts. So his wife, Julie Fry, was already the treasurer of Moscow, the city of Moscow. And then she was elected to be in charge of all of the public documents requests. So just a handful of days later, there's like the crime of the century. Also, a week before Kylie Rodney went missing, that pedo uh, sheriff was sworn in, the Placer County Sheriff Wayne Wu. So a week after he's sworn in to be the sheriff, a 16-year-old goes missing on his watch in his jurisdiction. And then, so back to Idaho for the 13th of November. But wait, I didn't write down in there Dante Del Toro. I thought I meant to write down the date for him too, and I missed it. So let me look up his date real quick because it's right. I think it's right in between. But interesting that all of these things were happening in 2022. Maybe it's all just a big bunch of coincidences. So let's see when Dante went missing. December 9th was when he was found, I think. December 8th might have been the day he was found. Anyway, so yeah, early December. So he was found in the Gold Run area, for those that followed his case like Fred did, and I imagine that you did too, Annabese, that I think he was only missing for like a day. So he was found deceased Thursday afternoon in a remote wooded area near the Gold Run rest stop, Placer County Sheriff's Office said. No indication that it was due to foul play. Coroner's office will do a full examination. Original story: he was reported to have gone to the Gold Run rest stop area for a school project around 12:30 but did not return. So it was during school hours. He is believed to have packed water bottles, a hand towel, shovel, and snow boots. He had no contact with friends or family since his disappearance. So, they never said he like fell down the mountain or something, which I would think is a possibility, but they just said no foul play. And I don't know if they said it was suspected or if they tried to claim that it was um, intentional or accidental, but definitely self-induced or self-inflicted. So anyway, so that was early December. And then a few days later, going back to the Idaho case up to Pullman, Washington, Brent Kopaka had his SWAT team incident on December 15th, 2022. So it was a busy year in the true crime community, huh? We're still working on a lot of this. I'm still working on a lot of this personally. I mean, the whole thing with Gouffre and Jeffrey and Ms. Maxwell, that's really captured my attention since the way it ties in with Wexner here in Ohio and Michael Jeffries, the guy from Abercrombie and Fitch. So, it's all this like worldwide international trafficking web that not enough arrests have occurred. And then, it's a lot like the Diddy situation. Not a lot of people have been named in that case either, other than the sheriff from Maui, John Pelletier, who seems to have committed some terrible crimes for Diddy. So some gang assaults of the intimate nature, violations of a at least one victim in particular that John Pelletier allegedly, it's in the lawsuit paperwork, that he pretended that he was law enforcement in a jurisdiction where he wasn't law enforcement, and that he was able to persuade or defer this victim from filing a legal complaint at the time that it happened. So we'll see what happens with that. So if you don't remember, John Pelletier was the police chief, or still is the police chief in Maui, but he's been put on an administrative leave ever since this lawsuit was filed with his name in it. But he was the police chief there when all of those people were burned, deceased. And it still seems like it was a lot more than the 101 or 2 that they claim it was. I'm thinking that they got rid of all of the people that didn't really have traditional homes, that lived in what they called like the Maui, what did they call it? The Maui colony, or it had like a special name. It was like a lot of people, like probably 1,000 or 2,000 people that lived on the land. And yeah, I can't think of what they called it. It had its own little special name. Anyway, I'm thinking that they got rid of all of them because they wanted their island to be more fancy, right? And they want to start like the smart city there. Anyway, Pelletier had been working for Vegas Police Department when that terrible shooting, that mass casualty event happened at the Mandalay Bay Hotel with the country music festival. So he was not the police chief in Vegas. He never was a police chief before Maui hired him. And Maui had never hired anyone to be a police chief that wasn't native to Hawaii. So why did they select him? And then it's just like this rabbit hole. His assistant, who had been working for that police department for like 30 years, got into this bizarre fatal car accident. I think 2 months after he was sworn in. I want to say he was sworn in December, and then she passed away in February. And then he was probably there. He was either there for 6 months or for a year and a half when the Maui fires happened. But everybody was new. Like Scott Green, the governor, was pretty new. Everybody had only been in their positions for like 6 months or 18 months. The mayor, what was his name? Oh, I can almost remember his name. Bisson, Mayor Bisson. Wow, the brain works sometimes. Isn't that weird, Annabes? So, and there was a terrible creator who blamed squirrels on fire for his passing. That creator is the worst creator of all time. I think it's the same one that would always show photographs of people that she printed. And she was always out of ink and begging her viewers to send her money for more ink. I don't like to cray. And yeah, she was very jealous of Shan, and it was just like bizarre, very bizarre. OMG, that's not suspicious. Yeah, none of this is suspicious. Most likely living with her mom. Right. The Trinity Bacchus, and yeah, so her mom had just moved back in with her ex-husband right before she goes missing. And he was definitely boots on the ground for Kylie Rodney. I know that for a fact because I saw it in many places on the interweb, and then it all got scrubbed away. So that's always good information when things get scrubbed. This probably isn't much help, but I remember hearing that after the 2020 election, The right had a plan to infiltrate all public offices, Board of Education, police, all public offices, no matter how small. Yeah, Annabes, that has definitely been a thing, like especially with the election boards. Like you said, Board of Education, and yeah, that's a big one. And police and public offices. So yeah, a lot of MAGA people started volunteering at the poll sites, and you know, the election operations never had so many volunteers as they had after that 2020 election. So yeah, it made it a lot easier for them to pull the shenanigans that they pulled with this 2024 election that I believe they pulled. I mean, all the bomb threats, the 200 bomb threats were, every single one of them was an email. And I want to say that if not every single one of them, that almost every single one of them originated from a Russian email address. And oh man, Hegseth and all of his Russian contacts. It's crazy. So yeah, there was a lot of interference with the 2024 election, with the bomb threats, with the tabulations of the votes. It's all so sketchy. And that channel that dedicates themselves to um, proving that there was election fraud. But if nobody if the people that are in charge decide not to pay attention to that, then you're kind of up a creek without a paddle. I mean, it's just nuts, isn't it? I have to admit, the right had a plan and they implemented it. Hey Sherry, it's been a while, girlfriend. Nice to see you. Yeah, that's not suspicious at all. Okay. So also not suspicious is, I've mentioned a couple of times that I've been looking for updates with the Sandra Birchmore case. So her boyfriend, Matthew Farwell, who was a police officer there, the Canton Police Department, a lot of the same players in that case as in the Karen Reed trial that's going on right now. But Sandra Birchmore was that adorable little 4'11", 23-year-old that they tried to allege was self-inflicted. And then finally, 3.5 years after her passing away, he was arrested this last summer. And there was supposed to be some sort of hearing um, the middle of this month that I don't think happened. But I did find out that on April 1st, an audit report was completed and submitted that says basically that the department was all good. And I've seen those audit reports before. Of course, the police department isn't going to hire an auditor that's going to come in and say, oh my goodness, one of your officers unalived his baby mama or his side thing, right? Like they're just not going to, because then they're not going to get hired again by any other police department. So, and the police department is only going to hire the one that they know won't do that. So it's great that they got a good audit with all high marks that says that they're great, they do everything right. Nothing to see over here, folks. But that can only go so far. Just because they got a good audit doesn't mean that her case is going to go belly up, but it does make you nervous about that, right? So Fred found the thread. Annie Elise is covering the trial. Yeah, it's such a convoluted case. I've studied it some, and it's like worse than the Idaho 4 as far as the effery goes. Yes, it has been a while. Been tied up getting Aunt's stuff taken care of. I've actually moved into her house. It is beautiful down in the mountains. Oh, lovely, Sherry. I'm sorry about your aunt, but nice that you Did you inherit her house or you're just staying there for a while? That's pretty cool. Um, so let's see. I looked up onshoring because Pamela Bondi said that, was it Pamela Bondi or was it, no, I think it was Caroline with a K, Levitt, said that they're doing some onshoring with some manufacturing. And I was just like, I've never heard it used like that. And yeah, she totally misused the word onshoring. Like, okay. She's just, I've said it before, she's one of the most irritating people. Um, ooh. And then this whole thing that she was saying that Bezos stating that I was trying to pick my word wisely. So Bezos stated yesterday that he was going to start putting the prices of each product, and then next to that, how much of that was tariff. And she freaked out um, during Scott Bessett's presser, and she just like threw him off the stage and was like, I'll take this question. That was a horrible, hostile political act. And then Bezos stood down. But what I found out is that that's how Amazon does it in other countries. That's just standard. So it's not like it was a horrible, hostile political act for Americans. It was how the company handles that, because then I'm sure they get lots of complaints. Like, I ordered a $20 item and then I got charged $55. Like, WTF? Like, we know shipping's not that much. It's expensive, but not that expensive. So anyway, it's terrible in my opinion that he flip-flopped, that, you know, people and companies, institutions and corporations need to stand up to this administration, or we're going to have a fascist regime, which we sort of do have a fascist regime. So people need to stand their ground and not let this MF run the show. He's an absolute moron, in my humble opinion. So yeah, and I'm trying to remember which things I already said in that other 5-minute video before I got cut off about like the tattoos on the fingers. I think I was talking about that, how the Trumpster fire said he was so confused when he was in this interview with Terry Moran yesterday, talking about how great and successful his first 100 days in office have been going, as he's been violating so many laws, and then acting so deranged and belligerent about the photoshopped picture where one of the people in Trumpster Fire's cabinet put the letters that each of the tattoos on the guy's finger stood for, like the letter M and the letter S. And then I remember the cross was supposedly stood for a 1, and then a skull supposedly stood for a 3 because of the way it was designed. And that they put the actual letters and numbers above each of the tattoo images on this photograph. And Trumpster Fire swore up and down to Terry Moran that he thought that that was part of the tattoo, that above the tattoo it had the little, like, you know, old schoolhouse font tattoo, which is ludicrous. And maybe he was that confused, but he got so freaking hostile and irate and belligerent, and it reminded me so much of the debate with Kamala, when he got really frustrated and interrupted her and said, in Springfield, they're eating people's pets. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. And yeah, a lot of good music was made out of that. Oh, my dog just got really nervous. She's like, what? We're so close to there, Mom. Say it's not true. She's very sensitive. She does not like any kind of hostile expression, but she also speaks English really well. Coco, don't worry. I won't let them at you. It's not true. It's not true at all. Anyway, just that absolute adamant, belligerent, cantankerous old man kind of thing. And again, it's like, it's fine if he is that confused, but that's scary that somebody that confused is in charge of so much. And part of me thinks that he's lying anyway. And like, I think he was lying about believing the thing about the cats and the dogs. I think he just loves gaslighting, and he loves being the crazy one in the room. He loves people talking about it. He loves ruffling everybody's feathers and making the headlines. Like, that's his goal every freaking second of his life. Yeah. Let's see. My sister did, but I'm staying in it. Oh, very nice. Lovely. Same person, LOL. I can say untrue things too. Yeah, I know we all can, but like, do you really want to say untrue things? Like, ain't nobody got time for that, right? I hope they can get him out of office. Well, so the articles of impeachment have been drafted up and submitted. They're starting the protest at the Capitol tomorrow, I think, on May 1st. So, yeah, I wanted to talk too about the impeachment. I looked that up to see, well, how many presidents have been impeached more than once? Oh, none? Only him? Okay. And only like one, two, three, I think only 4 presidents have ever been impeached, but all of them, impeached doesn't mean that they are like convicted with the impeachment, because then after they're impeached, they get acquitted. So I think all impeached means is that they're formally investigated for these allegations, and then they've all been acquitted. So like Nixon's, I don't even think got investigated. As soon as they like filed for the impeachment, he resigned. So, that was quick. And then Clinton, we know, was impeached for trying to split hairs over the meaning of is, or the definition of sex or something, right? And then a cigar is not always a cigar. Ugh. Anyway, so Clinton was impeached, but then I think he was acquitted. I think. For sure, this guy was acquitted of the 2 impeachments. So the first impeachment was when he asked Zelensky to basically lie on his behalf, or his family asked Zelensky to lie on his behalf to help with the election a couple election cycles ago, and Zelensky said no thank you. But then that was what the first impeachment was about. So I was going to read some about that to you guys, so it's less vague than the what I can remember about it. And then we all know that he was impeached for the insurrection, and then it was largely Mitch McConnell that let him off the hook and got him acquitted on that, which again was ironic because Mitch McConnell's wife was the first person from Congress to resign because of the insurrection. And so, our president has the stupidest dynamic with people, because he wants people to basically lie, cheat, and steal for him, in my humble conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly. And if you do those things, if your boss tells you to do illegal things and you do them, you're going to be held accountable for the illegal things that you did. You can't say, well, my boss told me to do it, so I didn't have a choice. You do have a choice. Like, yeah, it puts you in a bind, and it's sort of like pick your poison, because if you don't do it, then he's probably gonna sue you or fire you or whatever. if you don't do it, you're going to get treated the way Zelensky's been treated. But if you do it, then you're going to get treated the way he treats all the people that he ends up throwing them under the bus anyway, right? Oh, speaking of which, there was a little snafu that Hegseth made yesterday, canceling one of Trumpster Fire's like prized achievements in his whole 4-year administration prior. Did you guys hear about this? It was like women in peace keeping, something like that. And Ivanka was part of it, but Donnie was very proud of it and bragged about it. And I think Marco Rubio worked on it too. And then yesterday, Hegsbreath went off on a tear saying how it was like this woke BS from Biden and that it was stupid and it was deliberate trying to water down the war, dogs of war that they're trying to be. And so he canceled it without like talking to anybody, Googling it. Even Christy Nome was part of it, I think, back in the first administration when it happened. And so, yeah, it's called like Women's Strategic Peace something. It's kind of funny. So I don't know if Hegsbreath will get the axe now. I mean, I don't think he can do anything wrong as far as Donnie's concerned. But one of the reasons that Donnie wouldn't want to give him the axe is that how's he going to find another Secretary of Defense that will do illegal things for him? And illegal things for Vladdy. I don't think he'll find anybody. So he probably doesn't think he'll find anybody. So until he does, Pete's probably safe. He can keep screwing up and being as drunk as he wants to be. Keep making as many blunders as he can. I was going to ask how the protest went in DC, but I remembered it is the 1st. So yeah, it starts tomorrow. I think it's supposed to be like a vigil that goes 24/7. Coco is doing very well, Sherry. Thank you for asking. Yes, she's doing great. So far, so good. Anna says he loves attention. Wasn't Andrew Jackson impeached? I think that was the other one. Yeah, I was trying to remember who the other one was. And I think he was acquitted also. Mitch McConnell sucks. I know. And then lately he's been like not sucking so bad. So like he stood up to RFK Jr.'s appointment. He didn't bend on that, I don't think. Merrick Garland, the AG, also had a hand in letting Little T get away with it. Letting Donnie get away with what? The insurrection, getting acquitted. Thank you. Yeah. So what was this? What else did I want to talk about before I read you guys that stuff that I was going to read to you? Oh my goodness. During that interview with Terry Moran, and Donnie was just, again, so belligerent with him, not just about the letters on the knuckles, but he was belligerent with him about a lot of things. He was just very aggressive. And, Terry Moran was being pretty polite in his questioning. He is an investigative journalist. And honestly, I used to have a lot of respect for him. I don't think he stood his ground too well there with Donnie in that interview yesterday. It kind of like brought him down a notch in my mind. But so Terry was asking him something about the tariffs and China, and Trumpster Fire got really angry and said, like, you don't know that China's going to retaliate. They'll probably just eat the costs themselves. You don't know that it's going to make things more expensive here. He was just so argumentative. And it reminded me, like, just this whole thing that he started with Zelensky, like, you don't have the cards. He kind of gets into that same mode a lot lately. He's very defensive, and he loves to go on the attack, and he loves to talk about the cards. I'm Side note, sort of, I've wondered if he has a gambling problem. I'm going to bet you that he does, and that's one of the reasons why all the money in the world is never enough for him. And that would explain, like, how he bankrupted his casino, if he's got like the most horrible gambling problem you can imagine. But just his constant reference to "you don't have the cards." Like, yeah, I know it's a saying, but man, he seems to be overusing it. Oh, and then he told Terry Moran, just like he said to other investigative journalists, like that Lindsay Collins, he loves to tell her, like, oh, that's a stupid question. And he said that to Terry Moran. That's a stupid question. It's just like, there is no stupid questions, really. I mean, ask away. But again, when he's that defensive and that argumentative, it's not a good look. It's absolutely not a good look. And then Terry was asking him, like, so you have 100% confidence in Pete? And he was like, I don't have 100% confidence in anything. And he said, anyone tells you that they have 100% confidence in something, he's a liar, which is funny because a couple of days ago, when he was lying about having 200 deals underway with the tariffs, with all the 195 countries that there are in the world, and that person asking those questions, I got to look back and see who that was, because they stood their ground really well. And they were like, oh, really? 200, huh? And then his answer was 100%, 100% 200. It's just like, okay, well, as a world leader, you might want to know how many countries there are in the world. A lot of us, like me, I didn't know until then. And then I looked it up and I'm like, oh, that's funny. Like, I think it can range from like 180 to 230, depending on certain things. But essentially, in our Western culture, it's considered 195 countries in the world. So, what else? Oh, so he paid $100,000 to Rwanda last month. I just heard about this yesterday on. It wasn't Rebel HQ. It was a different channel. And I put a link to it in my video description from yesterday. So let me see if I can find that real quick. Because so Donnie paid $100,000 to Rwanda last month so that we can start sending prisoners there. Like, that's a steal of a deal. $100K. It's crazy. And let's see. Turn that down. See what channel it was. Fair and Balanced. And yeah, it's the first one that I mentioned in the description for yesterday's video, because I had said Rebel HQ in my video, but it's Fair and Balanced. So the title of it is Trump Quietly Cuts Deal. And yeah, let's see if I go to that video. No, not that one. This one. Trump quietly cuts deal to send deported people to Rwanda. And, Rwanda has had a lot of strife in the last 30 years. And I don't think it's ever really become a nice, quiet, peaceful place. They, I think that terrorism is still high risk there. Violence and crime is still very high risk there. But yeah, what a hot deal for deporting people illegally, right? Um, let's see. Fred Field says later, I'm off to watch the news to see how much farther we have slipped toward HE double hockey sticks in our handbasket. We have slipped. Yeah. It's day 101. So what you gonna do? Hopefully the impeachment will get some traction and might actually hold water. I mean, he's certainly done way over 100 impeachable offenses, in my opinion. I just spent $400 at the grocery store. Normally it would have been 200. I know. I spent a lot there yesterday too. It's insane. People my age are not in any group. 1960 to 64, we are not considered baby boomers by the baby boomers, and we aren't considered Gen X. We were all spoiled brats and had no respect for anyone. I blame people. That's funny, Annabees. My age for the shape of the country is in now. That's wild. That's very wild. But I appreciate your opinion a lot. Here, let me highlight that. Now that I can highlight things again, now I'm out of the habit. So replace pinned message. And oh, dang it. I wanted to, is Fred already gone? I wanted to say something about Kylie Rodney's case again, because, I always thought that video footage of the car from the fire cam, I always thought that was bogus. But the day that it happened, I literally said, well, good thing that they have fire cams all over out there, because they'll be able to look at the fire cam and see what happened to her that night. They'll be able to find her. So I think a lot of people still buy the bogus fire cam story. And if they had the fire cam, they would have known where to find her on day one. So then it's even more inconsistent with that they couldn't find her for 3 weeks with 20,000 hours of volunteer manpower. So, yeah, it's absolute bullshit. So, and a lot of people should have been fired and retrained in the event that the fire cam was valid. Everybody, all of the authorities should have been fired, that none of them thought, well, let's look at the fire cam. Because literally that was my first thought when the case happened. I was like, well, this is awesome. They got fire cams everywhere out there. They'll be able to see exactly what happened, because they have high resolution and they have the infrared, so they can really zoom in. Yeah, exactly. Well, I thought that I was Gen X when that whole thing happened back with like Reality Bites. I always thought that I was Gen X because I was born in 1967. So I don't know. Did I miss the boat on that? Was I born too early to be a Gen Xer? Um, and yeah, so I think that they had the surveillance camera of what happened to Kylie right away. So they knew the entire 3 weeks that they were pretending she was still lost. And I'm wondering the same thing about the Virginia Giuffre, that there's probably surveillance cameras out at her property. Like, I can't imagine a woman living alone on a big ranch like that, especially when they know that they have a target on their back and they know that they're going through a divorce, a contentious divorce. I don't believe she didn't have surveillance cameras, but I would imagine that we'll never hear about them. Okay, so what was it that I was going to read? The thing about the impeachment, I think, right? I knew I'd forget by the time I finally got around to it if I didn't just jump right on it. Um, oh my goodness, how did I miss this whole page? How did this happen? No, I talked about this yesterday. The three-legged stool that Besant said that our economy depends on a three-legged stool. I'm like, oh no, never sit on a three-legged stool. I won't even buy a three-legged table. I mean, no, no, that's a really bad metaphor. Except that he's right. Our economy is like a three-legged stool. Like, don't touch it because the thing's going down. Like, all you need to do is like look at it sideways and it'll tip over, right? Um, so yeah, was it the thing about the tariff, I think. So yeah, I was going to tell you guys when I was out gardening, I really tired myself out because I was out there like way longer than I expected and it was getting hot too. So then my brain gets fried. So I apologize for being a fry brain, but let me see if I can pull up the thing I wanted to share with you guys about the I think it was that I wanted to read to you about Donnie's first in, let's see, because so he's the only president who's been impeached more than one time. Like, what a crap fest, right? Oh, okay. So the first impeachment was, I got it reversed. The first impeachment was the insurrection. The second impeachment then would be the interfering. It's a good thing I'm reading this to you, huh? The second impeachment. So, serving as the 45th president of the U.S., he was impeached for the second time on January 13th, 2021, 1 week before his term expired. Wait, that was the second time. See, you just can't trust the internet. Um, so the second, that's what I thought, that was the second impeachment, the incitement of the insurrection. But it said that the first one. What? You stupid thing. Um, Let me try that again. It's more fried than I am. Okay. So the first impeachment was abuse of power, obstruction of Congress, and it was from December 18th, 2019 to February 5th of 2020. 1 month, 2 weeks, and 4 days. Okay, here we go. This is what I wanted to read to you guys. Phew. Because when I looked up that Dante del Toro thing, it erased it. Okay. Um, President Donnie was impeached twice during his single term in office. In each case, he was acquitted on all counts by the Senate. The first trial stemmed from a call Donnie had with Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine, in which Donnie asked the Ukrainian president to announce two investigations, one involving his political opponent in the upcoming 2020 presidential election, and the second into unsubstantiated allegations that entities within Ukraine had interfered in the 2016 presidential election. What a nut job. At the time of the call, the Office of Management and Budget had frozen $400 million in military aid to Ukraine at the direction of the president. What a dangerous whack job. Okay. The contents of the call initially came to light through an intelligence community whistleblower report, but a summary of the call was later made public by President Trump. Let's see what you're saying here. This is so accurate, the three-legged stool. My age group are very self-centered. We are me. Little T fits right in with their ideology. I'm one of them, but I'm not like them. They love his lies and his punching down. Oh, isn't that weird? Okay. Because he's not that much older than you. He's like 10 years older than you, Anna Bees. Is that right? Close to that? Yeah. He's almost as old as Biden, who he's always making fun of his age. But anyway, let me finish up with this real quick. Where are we at? We're already close to an hour and 15 minutes. The House investigation proceeded in two phases. The fact-finding portion of the investigation was primarily handled by the House Intelligence Committee in cooperation with the Committee on Oversight and Reform and the Committee on Foreign Affairs. The early stage of this phase of the investigation saw some controversy over whether the House must explicitly authorize the initiation of an impeachment investigation. Although the Speaker of the House had announced that the committee investigations constituted an official impeachment inquiry, the White House counsel objected to the investigations on the ground that the investigation lacked the necessary authorization for a valid impeachment proceedings. Man, my eyes just glaze over with this kind of like legalese. I just kind of zone out. I start thinking about puppies and things. All right. The necessary authorization for a valid impeachment proceeding and violated the due process clause. As a result, the president instructed members of his administration not to cooperate with the House's unconstitutional inquiry. The House later took action to explicitly approve the impeachment investigation by adopting a resolution authorizing the House committees to continue their ongoing investigations as part of the existing House of Representatives inquiry into whether sufficient grounds exist. This guy is such a snake. He's so squirmy. This is like how he does everything. Just so convoluted. And, you know, move the goalposts. We'll change the laws retroactively. I'm familiar with this stuff. I've seen it on a smaller scale, and it's just as bad. But the things that when he was doing this on such a large national platform, it encouraged a lot of smaller governments to do the same type of shenanigans. It kind of gave them a free pass just to be as corrupt as they wanted to be. And then people weren't paying attention to the smaller cities' problems because the nation was already in such hot water. Again, the flooding of the zone, like just too much going on to focus on any of it or all of it. Your eyes just glaze over and you're just like, oh man, just go for a walk. And I do think that a lot of people probably consumed more alcohol with all this crap going on. Not just people in the government, but people of the citizens. You know, you just kind of numb out. Okay, so it is good that the House later took action to explicitly approve the impeachment investigation by adopting a resolution authorizing the House committee to continue the ongoing investigations as part of the existing House of Representatives inquiry into whether sufficient grounds exist to impeach DJT. Nevertheless, the White House and other executive branch offices generally refused to comply with the House investigators' requests for information, including subpoenas. Like, you can't not cooperate with a subpoena. That's contempt of court. That's a serious thing, but that's what these freaks do. Some executive branch officials, however, made the individual determination to cooperate with the impeachment inquiry, and as a result, the Intelligence Committee was able to hold a number of investigative hearings and issue a report outlining their findings. The record established in the fact finding phase. I'm really expiring. Fact finding phase was then provided to the Judiciary Committee. Oh my goodness, how long does this go on? It goes on forever. Yeah, I can't read all of that to you. Should we just stop right there? Let's see what you guys are saying. OMG, how annoying. I mean, I read and I read and I read. I don't even think I was halfway done. No, not even close to halfway done, like a quarter of the way done. Um, I guess I should have scanned it before I had the brilliant idea of reading it to you guys. My sister tells me to not listen to the news. We'll see. I have a sister too, and she doesn't bother listening to the news because she knows I'll just give her like the distilled version of what she might be interested in hearing about. So phase two of the impeachment investigation was conducted by the Judiciary Committee. I'm going to read a little bit more of this. This phase focused on whether the president's conduct is uncovered in the fact-finding phase of the inquiry constituted an impeachable offense. Following a series of hearings, the committee recommended 2 articles of impeachment against the president, both of which were ultimately approved by the House. I feel like I'm rereading this part, but maybe it's just a lot like what I just read. The first charged the president with the abuse of power, alleging that he had used the powers of his office to solicit Ukraine's interference in the 2020 election and had conditioned official acts such as the release of military aid to Ukraine and a White House visit on President Zelensky agreeing to announce the investigations. President Trump, the article alleged, engaged in the scheme or course of conduct for corrupt purposes in pursuit of personal political benefit. The second article charged the president with obstruction of the House impeachment investigation by directing the unprecedented, categorical, and indiscriminate defiance of subpoenas issued by the House of Representatives. This abuse of office, the article alleged, was subversive of constitutional government and nullified a vital constitutional safeguard vested solely in the House of Representatives. Yeah, right on. Although the impeachment articles were adopted by the House on December 18th, 2019, the managers were not appointed and the articles not delivered to the Senate until January 15th, 2020. The Senate trial was characterized by deep partisan divides and complicated disagreements over questions of law and fact, including presidential motive. But one clear constitutional conflict that arose during the trial involved the proper relationship between impeachment and criminal law. Trial briefs and debates made clear that the House managers and the president's attorneys reached very different conclusions on the question of whether high crimes and misdemeanors require evidence of a criminal act or other legal violation. Let me take a break here and see what you're saying. Little T is 28 years older than you, Anna B. So you're younger than me. Yeah, you are a little bit younger than me. Wait, we must be doing our math wrong because you said you were born in like the early 60s and I was born in 67. And yeah, he's like 20 years, 22 years older than me. Um, my sister tells me not to listen to the news. Yes, it was a lot. LOL. Yes, you do that for me too, Jazz. I don't like to listen to the news. Well, my whole life I've always liked to keep abreast of current affairs, even though, like I said, I have shunned politics. I still like to know what's going on in the world. The House, consistent with past impeachment practice, asserted that for purposes of Article 2, high crimes and misdemeanors need not be indictable criminal offenses. In response, however, the president's attorneys asserted that an impeachable offense must be a violation of established law and that the articles failed to allege any crime or violation of law whatsoever, let alone high crimes and misdemeanors as required by the Constitution. The acquittal provided no clear resolution to these conflicting positions, but the debate over a link between illegal acts and impeachable acts appears to have some impact on individual senators. Indeed, the House manager's failure to allege an explicit criminal act appears, along with criticism of the House investigation and failure of the House to prove its case, to have been among the primary reasons for the acquittal. So, you know what it makes me think? It's like everybody who was involved basically gets in trouble, except him, right? No, I'm 4 years older than you. Sorry, 18 years older. Not good with math today. I know, I was doing that yesterday when I was like 25 and 18 make 30 something, and now it makes 40 something. Okay. Let's see. As the Senate trial proceeded, it became apparent that a major point of contention would be whether the Senate would call its own witnesses. The House managers asked that the Senate authorize subpoenas for relevant executive branch documents and for testimony from various White House officials, including National Security Advisor John Bolton. With only 49 senators voting in favor, the Senate chose not to approve that request, and the record was limited to the evidence provided by the House. Shoot, I'm 3 years older than you. Yeah, that's okay. We're not keeping track. I'm 3 years older than me too, so it's cool. Ultimately, the Senate acquitted President Trump on both counts. Article 1 failed by a vote of 48 to 52, while Article 2 failed by a vote of 47 to 53. Man, so tight. The second Trump impeachment occurred a year later in the waning days of Trump presidency following events on January 6, 2021 at the Capitol, in which some supporters of the president attempted to disrupt the congressional certification of the 2020 presidential election as having been won by Joseph Biden. And see, I really wonder if they hadn't cheated in that election too. And so they were absolutely sure that the only way they could have lost was if they cheated too, right? Does that make sense? Because it hadn't occurred to me until I was so convinced that they cheated this last time. It dawned on me like, oh, so that's why they were so adamant that they won in 2020, because they knew that they cheated. So they knew it wasn't possible that they didn't win, but they didn't cheat good enough is what I think happened. Like they screwed up their cheating, because maybe Biden won by a much larger margin than what it appeared, you know. And so this time they made sure that they, you know, I do think that they won too many of the states that they kind of outed themselves with that, especially the swing states. Like, it's just so unlikely. The House moved quickly following those events, passing on an investigation. The Judiciary Committee staff compiled publicly available evidence relating to the president's actions on January 6th, and within 1 week had introduced and approved a single article of impeachment charging the president with incitement to insurrection. Well, yeah, and especially because those people that did all that action on day one saw their whole lives flashing in front of them when they were on lockdown. I mean, some of them probably thought they were never going to be getting out of there alive. They're probably all looking on their cell phones at the news and seeing what was going on outside and seeing people with gas masks, and they were putting on gas masks, and then Pence was like ushered off, but nobody else was. I mean, but they weren't chanting other people's names that they were going to hang, were they? There might have been one other person that they were saying they were going to hang, like Pelosi. Yeah, I think they were going to hang her too. But no, they just took a dump on her desk because, that's so sophisticated. OMG. I think they took a dump on her desk. I know they were smearing their feces all over the hallways, which is like what excuse me, freaking toddlers do. I almost dropped an F-bomb there. Oh no. It's okay when it's like an hour and 25 minutes in. It's really bad in the first 7 minutes. You'll definitely get dinged there. Anyway, I didn't do it. I caught myself. Specifically, the article alleged that in the months running up to January 6th, the president had consistently issued false statements asserting that the presidential election results were the product of widespread fraud and should not be accepted by the American people. Wait, I need to read that again. Specifically, the article alleged that in the months running up to January 6th, the president had consistently issued false statements asserting that the presidential election results were the product of widespread fraud and should not be accepted by the American people. He then repeated those claims while addressing a crowd on January 6th and willfully made statements that in context encouraged and foreseeably resulted in lawless action at the Capitol. Notably, although the House ultimately impeached him prior to the expiration of his term, the Senate did not commence a trial until after the president had left office. Yeah, they didn't cheat good enough. Exactly. You got to cheat more better. I have my own little conspiracy theory. My football team probably threw the Super Bowl. They knew Lil T was rooting for my team and they didn't want him to be chat with you girls later. Oh, Sherry, thanks for coming in. Bye, Sherry. Take care. Oh, interesting, Anna Bees. I'm fascinated with your ideas there. I got a little puppy that wants in. One sec. Come here, baby. Come here, Rookie. Not the little puppy, not the new one, but the older one, Mookie. Come here, baby. Do you want up? Come here, hon. Come here, baby. Come here. There's the girl. There's the wiener dog. Cheweenie. Okay. Where were we? The Senate trial saw the chamber make two important threshold determinations regarding trials of former presidents. First, although the Constitution clearly requires the Chief Justice to preside over presidential impeachment trials, the Senate implicitly determined that the requirement does not extend to the trial of a former president. At the opening of the trial, Senator Patrick Leahy, if I'm saying his name right, President pro tempore of the U.S. Senate, was sworn in as presiding officer without objection. The Senate also made the threshold determination of whether it had the constitutional authority to try a former president After briefing and debate on the question of whether the Senate had jurisdiction over a former president for acts that occurred during his tenure in office, the Senate explicitly determined by a vote of 56 to 44 that it did. Thus, a majority of senators, as they have on previous occasions, determined that former officials may be tried by the Senate and, though not removable, remain subject to disqualification from holding future office if convicted. So I'm actually pretty close to being done. Maybe I'll just finish it up. But yeah, Anna Bees, if you want to share your little theory there, I'm very interested. Or maybe that was the whole theory, what you already said. With respect to whether El Presidente had committed an impeachable offense, the main substantive question during the trial arguably revolved around the proper application of the First Amendment. The former president's attorneys invoked the First Amendment as a defense to the impeachment charge, asserting that free speech protections apply and limit the conduct that can be considered an impeachable offense. The president's political statements at the rally, his attorney argued, constituted core free speech under the First Amendment. Oh, that's a dirty trick. It's just like you're not free to make a threat against anybody's safety, even if you're president. F that. And thus not an impeachable offense. The House managers disagreed, arguing that the First Amendment has no application in an impeachment proceeding because impeachment does not seek to punish unlawful speech, but instead to protect the nation from a president who violated his oath of office and abuse of the public trust. Moreover, even if the First Amendment did restrict the impeachment power, it still would not protect President Trump's calls to violence, which the managers asserted fell within the well-established category of unprotected speech directed to inciting or producing imminent lawless action. In the end, the First Amendment arguments made by the former president's attorneys do not appear to have had an impact on senators, as only one senator who voted to acquit the former president mentioned the First Amendment in the formal explanation of his vote. Although a majority of senators voted to convict, the former President Trump was ultimately acquitted by a vote of 57 to 43. Okay, so it's done. It's over. And yeah, I feel like that was important information to get out there, even if people fade, zone out while I'm reading it. Like I was zoning out. Like the first couple of paragraphs in, I was just like, what did I just read? Like I was thinking about cookies or something. Oh, by the way, I bought some Pepperidge Farm Brussels. Have you had those, Anna Bees? They're like my favorite, but I try not to eat sugar, so I was pretty much just buying them for my family. But I did eat a couple. They're too good not to because they're dark chocolate. They're so good. Anybody who hasn't tried Brussels, try them. They are one of the best, in my opinion. Bordeaux are the other ones that I totally love. Pepperidge Farm. I think that's how you say it, Bordeaux. They're just like, they're kind of like snickerdoodles, but they're really thin and delicious. Anyway, here I am thinking about cookies after all that legalese. Yes, it was very suspicious the way they played. They knew right away that running the ball was what they had to do, but instead they threw the ball as the O-line collapsed over and over again. See, I don't know enough about football to know really what you're talking about, but yeah, I mean the Kansas City Chiefs had been doing well for a few years in a row, And then the Philadelphia Eagles didn't really have a track record like that. So it was really odd that they didn't win. And especially that they lost so badly. I mean, they really got slammed. But yeah, you think they threw it, huh? Sorry, my nose is itching. Time for some more Sudafed. I know that our quarterback and many on our team did not like little T. Right. Right. Isn't the quarterback on your team the one that is engaged to Taylor Swift? Isn't that? And yeah, his brother was on the other team prior, right? I'm so bad I can't even remember his name. Taylor Swift's fiance. Are they engaged yet, or did they break up over this whole thing? Um, let's see. I know his name, but my brain won't let me think of it. Travis Kelce. Okay. So was Travis Kelce the quarterback? I can't remember. Tight end. Okay. Got it. So yeah, just in the last just today there's articles about like if they've broken up or not. That's funny. I didn't know Taylor Swift was from Ohio, from Westlake. I'm imagining that that is probably up on Lake Erie. That's probably like Cleveland area. Or wait, no, not her, the boyfriend. It says Taylor Swift, but then because then it says height 6'5". I'm like, she's tall, but she's not that tall. Okay. And he went to the University of Cincinnati. Very cool. So so yeah, Taylor's from like Nashville or something, isn't she? I know she moved there when she was young. So she was born in Pennsylvania. But then I think she grew up in Nashville because her family moved there when she was like 10 or 11 or 12. They moved to Nashville, Tennessee for her music. She spent her early years on Pine Ridge Farm, an 11-acre Christmas tree farm in Pennsylvania near Reading. Later, her family moved to a house in Wyomissing, Pennsylvania, where she lived until moving to Nashville, Tennessee to pursue her musical career. And she was 14 years old when they moved to Nashville in 2003. Interesting. Interesting. And yeah, I was surprised to learn that she was 5'11". Like, people don't talk about that too much. And this is funny. It's like, what's her IQ? She's a low IQ person, right? Sources estimate her IQ to be around 130. That's so funny. I don't know. Oh, Lady Gaga is widely estimated IQ of 166. I think that that is what Trumpster Fire tries to say that his is, but I don't think his could possibly even be 100. Literally, I mean, he's wily, he's clever, he's sly, but he's not smart. In my humble conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly. That is our tight end, Travis Kelce. Oh, you haven't tried the Brussels? You must try the Brussels. And yeah, while you're at it, try the Bordeaux's also. Tell me what you think. I think people are saying they are engaged, and both of them would be really good broken up over vanilla ice cream. And if you're going to get vanilla ice cream, I highly recommend Haagen-Dazs. No, I'm not getting paid by them. It just sounds really good. I guess I'm having like low blood sugar at the moment or something. I do think they threw the game. Yeah, that is wild. That is wild. I really appreciate your sharing your opinion of that. But maybe you're just in denial that they lost. You just don't want to admit it. I'm kidding, of course. But yeah, it's funny too that the Philadelphia Eagles, I think it was, that won. And then just all that activity in Philadelphia, like the airplane that crashed. Remember that with the girl who'd been getting cancer treatments from Mexico? Like that was back when the planes first started falling out of the sky. And then right after the plane crashed in Philly, and it was like I want to say northeast Philly, and then that there was a train that was on fire in northeast Philly, and then there was like a warehouse that was on fire in northeast Philly. So I looked up northeast Philly, and of course, Philly's the city of brotherly love, and it's very democratic and very highly populated by African Americans, and I think northeast Philly especially. So I thought it was really wild that all of those catastrophes were happening in the same neighborhood. And that's when I figured out too that Donnie had gone to college at the University of Pennsylvania, which I don't think that that's in Northeast Philly. I think it's more like central. Oh, hold on one sec. Hello? Sure thing. Love you. Bye. All right. That was my daughter. I got to go pick her up from her practice. All right. I'm going to sign off real quick. Been on forever. Thanks so much for being here, Anna Bees. Love and light. See you soon. Hopefully, tomorrow I'll be able to prevent myself from getting any more dandelions because I am getting blisters on my hands. So I got to stop. Eagles for sure didn't like Trumpster fire. Here we are, day 101. Let's see what happens. All right. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Drink your water, eat your veggies. Take care.